Welcome back, everybody. We have amazing filmmaker that is Riccardo Suriano, who has asked me to call him the Majesty
No.
because he's that good.
Why?
The Majesty Riccardo. He's going to talk about how he has used Red Giant to create a cinematic universe that he works on. I'll let Riccardo take you all through his process. Please
Right
scan
on.
the QR code if you want to download assets of the artist. If it does not work, scan it again. I've tried it, it works. So please scan the QR code. I'll let Riccardo take ahead and take us through his workflow. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here, guys. I am not nervous. I'm just shaking, but I don't know. I'll be talking from back there. I'm going to sit, and you guys don't see me. That works for me. I am usually not good at being in front of a camera, in front of a public. I usually let my work speak for myself, and I'm gonna start the same way. I'm gonna show you a little reel of my latest work that speaks for myself, but then I have to come back and speak. So let's start that way. This is some of my work.
Blue is water, green is life, black is death. Yellow is gold.
I can't
blue
hear,
is
though.
Water, green is life, black is death. Yellow
I don't know how you know me, but I don't
blue
care!
is water,
I will find
green
you!
is life, black is death.
Show yourself!
Yellow is gold, blue is water,
Come out!
green is life,
Come out.
black is death. Yellow is
Where
gold,
are you? Come out.
blue
Show your
is
face.
water, green is life, black is death. Yellow
I don't
is
know where you
gold,
are, but I can hear
blue
you.
is water, green is life, black is death.
Where
Yellow
are you?
is gold,
He's there.
blue is
He's
water,
there.
green is life,
Fucking there. He's
black
waiting
is
for me. He's
death. Yellow is gold, blue is water, green is life, black is death. Yellow is gold, blue is water, green is life, black is death. Yellow is gold, blue is water, green is life, black is death. Yellow is gold, blue is water, green is life, black is death.
Dreams we chase in frames we see, stories told in
Stay right here. I'll just be a moment. I'll be right back. Okay?
laughter echoes, tears they fall.
Maddie? Hey, look at me. Look at me. It's all right.
Find it all.
I'll just be a moment. You're safe.
Moments captured.
Be a good girl. Sit out here for a minute. I'll be right back.
Slices of our histories. In shadows we find night anew.
Feel you.
In silence screams the truth we knew. Cinematic art that paints the mind. In celluloid we see and find.
Paging Dr. Lund, line 3.
Well, as you guys can see, I make children cartoons. I make movies for children. Please advise your children to never look at my work. That introduces what I do. I'm a filmmaker, I'm a film director, writer, but I like to do all of it, and that's why we're here today, because we're talking about post-production. I make horror films, just dark stories, but that's how I express myself. And we're here today because I made a little short film that we're gonna view in a second, and I made it for today because I wanted to do the post-production entirely using Maxon suite. So I use Red Giant, and I will show you how. Honestly, my main thing is you don't need to be an expert. You don't need to be an expert colorist. You don't need to be an expert in knowing the technical aspect of everything to make art, to make something that you think is beautiful to you and you want to show people. That's all. Like today I want to show you how, with very simple steps, just going by what you see. You like what you see, that's it. You did it. You don't need to know. And Maxon helps you with that because they made some plugins. They're so simple, intuitive that, if it works for you, it works for everybody. So I'm going to show you this short film. Again, it's not going to be a happy short film, but I filmed it specifically for this event. Let's go Bound by Blood, by the way. What are colors? Colors are all off on the monitor, but it's okay.
in the air. She kneels, razor red, laid gently on the ground. In the distance, a man walks, lost and tightly wound. Bloody knives in the grass, hidden but not gone. Her eyes full of sorrow, a soul so withdrawn. He's walking towards her, confusion in his mind. Tension in the air, what will he find?
We're in an endless cycle, shadows in the light, facing our demons. We're losing the fight, no escape from this field, no way to break free. Our fates are intertwined, you and me.
They stand face to face, the air thick with dread. His eyes search the field, at the sight ahead. Bloody scars revealed, her pain now in view. Recognition hits her, her suffering is true.
He screams in silence, horror in his eyes, realizing the thing where the past never dies. He looks at his wrist, the scars are clear to see. A mirror of her pain, a shared destiny. We're in an endless cycle, shadows in the light, facing our demons. whispers grow louder, the shadows creep close. We're bound by the scars, the ones we chose. No way to end it, no final release. Just an endless cycle, no hope for peace. We're in an endless cycle, shadows in the light, facing our demons. We're losing the fight, no escape from this view, no way to break free. Our fates are intertwined, you and me.
They stand face to face, the air thick with dread. His eyes search the field, at the sight ahead. Bloody scars revealed, her pain now in view. Recognition hits him, your suffering is true. He screams in silence, horror in his eyes, realizing the fate where the past never dies. He looks at his wrists, the scars are clear to see. A mirror of her pain, their shared destiny.
We're in an endless cycle, shadows in the light, facing our demons. We're losing the fight, no escape from this field, no way to break free. Our fates are in the air, what will he find? We're in an endless cycle, shadows in the light, facing our demons. We're losing the fight, no escape from this field, no way to break free. Our fates are in the air, what will he find? What will he find? We're in an endless cycle, shadows in the light, facing our demons. We're losing the fight, no escape from this field, no way to break free. Our fates are in the air, what will he find?
The whispers grow louder, the shadows creep close. We're bound by the scars, the ones we chose. No way to end it, no final release. Just an endless cycle, no hope for peace.
We're in an endless cycle, shadows in the light, facing our demons. We're losing the fight, no escape from this field, no way to break free. Our fates are intertwined, you and me. In the distance they come to take the place we've been, and now they're so lost to the darkness within. The silence returns as the new one kneels down in this cursed field where sorrow is found.
All right, guys. After all this happiness, let's get into why we're here. I mean, Maxon knew that I'm a horror film director, so they knew what they were getting into. And so, why are we here? We're here because I want to put creativity ahead of techno aspects. I want to put creativity ahead of everything that might teach you in school, that might teach you anywhere else. It's all about feeling, it's all about what's dear to you, it's all about what you want to express. And even though the color space on the projection here was completely off, so I'm talking about color, but it's okay, because that's part of it. It's about feeling. What I wanted to do is to show you, I want to talk about the Maxon Suite colored Red Giant. I want to talk about, in particular, film, Mojo, Lux, and Renoiser. Okay, these are all available in the Maxon One Suite, and that's all I use to do the post-production of this film. You would get usually 30 nodes. Obviously, I think we all know what nodes are. So we're inside DaVinci. You get your footage, you do your editing, and then you say, okay, let me go. So here's the editing. You go here, you put it all together, you find. I created the music as well. And then you go into color. And this is where your footage goes from looking like a video, looking like flat, because you can use log or you use just a flat video, color space, whatever camera you use. You can use your iPhone and record in log, ProRes log, Apple log on your iPhone. Honestly, you can film with anything. Don't get stuck behind, I need the fancy camera, the fancy lenses, I need, colorists and DPs and anything. You got a story you want to tell? No matter what, get that story out there. Then you go into DaVinci, you get a Maxon Suite, and you can make it look cinematic. As simple as 4 nodes. Okay? People before, you still get professional colorists that would use 30 nodes and they would mask and they would just go nuts, which, yeah, it works. But will it work for you? Because maybe you don't have the budget. Maybe you don't have the knowledge. So this is as simple as 4 nodes. And we're going to talk about what film is, what Mojo is, what Lux does, and what Renoiser does. So you find an image. Let's say you want to recreate this one here. It's a little darker on the screen over there. Let's work on even this. There you go. They're all a little dark. Let me go on this one here. You get here, and you start with your first node. And it's usually here I do a little bit of a curve, as you can see. So what the curve does, it's just bring up or down, highlights or mid-range. And again, the color space of what you see there is different than here. So I might make it work for there. So you will go something like this. Let's say you like that, okay? You don't need to know what you did. That's what I want to teach about today. You don't need to know technically what you did. Do you like it? Yes, I like it. Let's move on. Let's move on. I like that. Highlights, I like the mids, I like the shadows. That works for me because that's the style I want to transmit. Perfect. We're going to move on to the next. Now I need to re-render because I moved something. But here I went into effects. You go into effects and I found, you go into the library, you go into the Maxon, Magic Bullet, Red Giant Magic Bullet. These are the ones I want to talk about today. You'll get looks. The first thing I do is films, okay? I do film. So I translate what I see into a Kodak film. So that's the look that I like. Great. Without it, well, I got more nodes over here. Let me turn them all off. Let's do that. Let me turn all the nodes off. There you go. So this is your footage before you actually use film from Red Giant. You click on film. Now, technically, what you want to do, you shot in a video format like an iPhone, then you will start with video. You shoot flat or you shoot in log. Now you have these 3 simple choices. Now, I want to show you the wrong choice because there's no such thing as the wrong choice. So I shot in log, but I actually use flat. Why did I use flat? Why not? Do you like it? Yes. Let's move on. I keep saying that. That's why I love this suite, because you could choose the wrong button and it might still work for you. So I chose flat. You find your negative stock, which is, there's Fujifilm and Kodak, a whole bunch of different stocks. You find the one you like the most, and you choose the color temperature. Let's say I shot in this color temperature because I didn't know what I was doing. I used my iPhone picked up an out of white balance, and the white balance was way off. It was a sunny day, it was horrible. You don't need to shoot in RAW because you actually have it right here. Now I'm gonna change the temperature to the one that fits my style. Let's say this temperature fits my style. Great, that's it, I'm done with that. You shot overexposed. Again, your camera, your iPhone, whatever, shot overexposed. You don't need to be a perfect technician or a perfect shooter to be able to make something that you like. You go here, you can change your exposure without ruining your footage. That's very important. Because once you start overexposing, underexposing, you're gonna get noise, you're gonna get just blown highlights or just too dark of shadows. You have it right here. Now I'm gonna find what I wanna, work with. Love the exposure, great. Contrast, you have it all in one little space right here. Skin tone, you wanna make it look more vintage, you wanna make it look more modern. You choose the one you like. Grain, I add a little grain, but we're gonna go into Renoiser and talk about grain later. Vignette it, you wanna vignette it, you wanna make it more, just standard, or you wanna make it a little more interesting where you're focusing everybody's attention to the center of the image. You can do it right there. That's it. This is as simple as you saw. This is called film. It takes your flat video or log footage and make it look like, what we're used to, what we see in the movies, the film stocks. Okay, great. Love the film stock. This is going to be the beginning of my editing. This is the main footage that already looks like something I like. Don't worry about the invalids here. I just noticed all the stills they are missing, but there you go. And now we're going to move on to the next. What do we have next? We create another, DaVinci. If you know DaVinci, you do add node, add serial node. Okay, you create another node. I don't need it right now. And you go into library again in the settings, and there's something called Mojo 2. What does Mojo do? Let's check it out. Click on Mojo, without, with. It's balancing out the greens in the look that I want. So obviously I'm going for a green look for this. And it's just creating a little bit of meshing the highlights with the dark, with the shadow sides, the dark spots. It's just kind of meshing it all together to make it look more just pleasing, a little more, it's more contrasty, but there is less difference in the exposures between what's very bright and what's really dark. Now, Mojo has a lot of presets. Again, you can go with the footage, flat, log pro, video. In this case, since I already added the film look, I'm gonna go from video because I don't wanna add more, like an extra layer of film look to something that already has a film look to it. I'll go into video. There's a bunch of presets right here, or you create your own. What does Mojo do? You see it right here. See, it takes that footage, it just blends it better. It just makes it look even more cinematic. Now, it comes down to the story you want to tell, because that's very important. Again, I'm an advocate for art. It's about feeling. It's about what you want to tell and how you want to tell it. There is no right, there is no wrong. It's how the look fits the story that you're telling and how the look fits the mood that you want to express. Now, let's say I'm doing a very action film. We're used to all these Netflix action films, and they're super green and they're super contrasty, and it just didn't work for this. So at this point, I can go on Mojo, and I can actually go, if I want to, they have light, or if you want something crazy, you can go Mucho. Now, it might be a subtle difference, but once you export it, you actually notice a big difference to it. So you can punch it, you can bleach it. See how it takes, like if you bleach it more, it becomes the whites show up more. Here, the blend more, so you have less contrasty whites. Same thing here, the Mojo tint. You can go greener. You can go right here. There you go. You can punch it. Look at that contrast. The contrast is changing based on that. Now, again, it comes down to what you want to tell. It comes down to the story that you want. You can vignette it here too. You can work a little bit on the warmth and the coolness also of the Mojo effect. So it's not going to impact your footage. It's only going to impact the node of Mojo. So depending on how much Mojo you're adding to it, now that Mojo itself is going to be warmer or it's going to be cooler. So that's important to understand that you're not messing with the original footage. You're not messing with the film look. You're not messing with anything else, but you're only messing with the Mojo effect. So that's it. Same thing with the vignette and everything. It's all about the Mojo effect. Now, let's say we found what we like. Again, is it right? Is it wrong? Doesn't matter. Do you like it? Does it feel right to you? Perfect. We're going to move on to creating a new node. And this node is very important to me. This node has something called looks. Looks is actually insane. We have a lot of things we can change into looks. So you obviously library, you go into the magic bullet, you click on looks, and you go into edit looks. Now looks, it's going to be very heavy on your computing, so because it does a lot of things. Like it seriously does almost a physical, you almost apply physical onto a digital. It's hard to explain because, again, I'm not a technician, but it's not just a feel, it's not just a look, but it's an actual, like you could mess with tools like optical diffusion, which is the one that I used, that it's just like putting a filter in front of your lens. So let's say you want to use, here I use Black Pro Mist. What a Black Pro Mist does, it blooms the highlights. It creates a more of a dreamy feel. And I'll show you the difference without and with. Does it show there? Yeah, you can see a little bit of how it creates that dreamy. It takes those highlights, it blooms it around the subject, on top of the subject. And that filter is like $400. You can't afford a filter, you don't need, because I know people, so it's called tool trapping, and a lot of people that don't shoot, they're afraid to go out there and shoot anything because they don't have the, I want to create a dreamy feeling, but I don't have the filter. I don't have the $500 for the filter, plus the $500 for the matte box to put the filter in, plus, there you go. You don't have $1,000, you're not going to shoot. You know what? You can do it. You shoot, and then you do it in post. I'm not an advocate to do everything in post, obviously. There is a difference between physical and physical, but it should not stop you from it. Like if you can afford, go with the physical. If you can't afford, doesn't mean you're not supposed to do something. Go out there, get it done, get into this looks, and use all the filters that you want. Like we have, like just for optical diffusion, this is the list. Each of these filters, they're about $300-400 a filter. You know, it's all here. You can go on glimmer glass. You can choose big bloom. Like, it's hard to see on this small screen, but like the fog, ultra contrast, low light. Look at that. Look at that contrast. Look how it changes the whole contrast. So even just this one, the ultra contrast, that's about $400 filter. So again, in tools, you can do so much more. You can work with exposure, contrast, gradient. You can do black and white. You could create edge softness. So if you don't have a lens that actually is a vintage lens that have that edge softener, you have it. You have it right here. You can do a swing tilt. You can add haze or flare. Like for example, you go here, click. Now I'm gonna add cool haze. Like this filter added cool haze to the footage. Now you're doing a scene inside of this dark room with a little light coming through, and you didn't have a hazer. You don't have a person to show up with a fogger to get your footage exactly what you look like. You should not do it. You do it, and then you come in here, and you make it work. Because this will take the brightest light. Let me try in a different, hold on a second. Let me go to a different scene. The problem is that this is it's too dark out there, so I need something. This one, it's a little brighter there. But let's go into looks, edit look, tools. I'm gonna grab that haze. See how he created a more of a hazy atmosphere? See, if I wanted to create that haze, there you go. Now I got a little haze. I can go on the blue spectrum, and now I got some blue haze. Look at that. It looks like it was fog out there. Why would you not do something because you don't have a person who brings a hazer and knows how to use a hazer, and you don't have the cost to cover that hazer? You make it work. Again, this is why we're here, because I want to show you, don't get tool trapped, don't get discouraged. Your story, your feeling can still be filmed and can still be shown the way you want to. Again, tools. You could add colorista, you can do clay, there's so much. You can use Mojo over here, you can apply LUTs, you can add even anamorphic flares, lens distortion, boom. You get a lens distortion in here, you decide the distortion itself, look at that. You know how many times I look for the right lens for the right distortion? And sometimes you realize that the lens, the distortion that you want costs $20,000, $30,000. Oh, I want that look. How am I going to do that? I'm a filmmaker. I get stuck on the look. That scene, I want that distortion. I can't do it because I can't afford $30,000. Now I can. I go in here and I create the distortion that I want. I can do, you know, distortion inward, outward. I want that barrel distortion right there. Because, for example, that's my favorite thing. It's having barrel distortion. That's it. It's as simple as one little step. And the best part is, again, you don't need to be a technician. You don't need to be 100% knowing what that distortion does and how the distortion gets applied. You don't need to know what it's happening behind the computing power. All you have to do is to see it. Does this distortion look good to you? In that story, do you want that person to look like that? You get it done. There you go. Now I got distortion on that scene. Here, I did another step of looks, and I want to show you that. A lot of times you have highlights that, so there's too much of a difference of exposure between the highlights and the shadows. And that happens because you might not be in a control environment. Now, you don't have a DOP. that outside can create an 8 by 8 to cover the highlights to make sure that you don't have that 5 stops of difference between the sky and the subject. There is, in tools, there's something called shadows and highlights. And then down full, down half, and you can choose however you want. Look at that. I don't know if you notice it on there. Oh, you can see it. If you look at the mountains behind, you look the sky behind, you can see how this just brings down the highlights. This is something you could do in the curve in DaVinci, but you need to know where you're touching, what you're touching, how it complies, how it works. Here, you don't. Again, I keep saying this because it's so important to me, because I know so many people that because they're not sure 100% how to do something, they don't do it. And I tell everybody, I mean, I used to teach filmmaking in academies and everything. It's just do it. Just get out there and get what you like. So here, you go into the highlights and you say, I want the highlights to go down a stop, 3 stops, 4 stops. You can change here. You can bring the shadows up. You can go with the shadows down. But mainly, I would say use it for the highlights, because that's the most difficult thing to do when we are not in a control environment. I mean, obviously, you can have a RELX Mini that has 14 stops of dynamic range, which means if I'm filming right now that light over there and I'm filming this dark panel, now I have a million stops of difference. With my phone, you'll see that. With a cheaper camera, you'll see that. You use an Alexa 35, no matter what, you can't go wrong, because it's going to pick up all the stops. And I know people, if they don't have that camera, they're not going to attempt to do it. So they're going to say, oh, no, I can't shoot here because I have too many stops of difference. Why don't you do it here? Film however you can, get in here, lower the highlights, bring up the dark, the shadows, and make it work for you. And that's what I did over here. I realized I was in a not controlled environment, like in this scene right here, especially in this one here. There is the sky and there's some shadows right here. I mean, there's a huge difference between everything. Even that, I mean, some people might like that. I didn't like that. To me, having a sky this bright takes away my eyes from seeing the subjects. So I just went and took down the highlights by 1 stop. If I wanted to bring up the shadows, I could bring up the shadows, I don't know, let's say even just 0.11%, and it makes it perfectly almost the same level of exposure between the whole image. So now I am going to attract the eye to the subject. I'm not going to get somebody distracted because they're looking straight at the sun like a deer looking at headlights. And that, it's about a feeling. If that's what you want to tell it like that. If you decide that you want everybody to look at her dress or the sky, then just go with the sky to be super blown. Why not? Another thing I want to talk about is Renoiser. Renoiser, I mean, the name says it. It adds noise to your footage. What's noise on the footage? It's a perfect addition to emulate a film stock image. Now, noise on the footage, what it does to me, it brings me back a little bit to what, the film used to look like. And again, here, there is no right or wrong. This is also about how you feel. Because what Renoiser does, so you go in library, boom, Renoiser, you put it here, and you have already presets. So this one, it's already set, so they studied very well what the noise of a modern master would be, what the noise of a modern 35 millimeter or a classic 35 millimeter, or even a Super 8 would be. Look, this is noise of a Super 8. Now, it might not work for the story I want to tell, but it might work for you. You don't need to know much. You have it right there, already set up. Now, I like to create my own just because it's fun. You decide each scene, honestly, you should use the same throughout the whole, but why? If you want a scene to be with bigger noise because you're in a dark environment and you want just the shadows to be crazy noisy and you want the outside not to be noisy because your storytelling says so. Your storytelling says, I want the outside to have no noise and the inside of a house to be noisy as heck. Why won't you do it? Do it. And this is how you do it. You create a node And now this particular scene can have a completely different noise than every other scene, because in this scene you want to tell that, oh my God, I want my feeling to be just overwhelmed by noise. You go here, you choose your own noise, you set up the noise that you want. For example, Bicahuna, that's one I like. I like the name, so I use it. Right there, I think that noise went to a different scene. I think this noise is beautiful for me. You might hate it. So you say, hey, I want to go with the modern, and I want to be less sharp. I don't want sharpness, and actually I want it all sharp. I want the noise to sharpen the edges of my subject. I want that noise to be still the size of a modern master, but I want it to be a lot of noise. Right there, you got some very sharp, which sharpens your image as well, and very present noise. And so on. You can change the size, you can change the texture. You can go with a monochrome grain, so it doesn't really impact the color of your footage, because when you add noise, it picks up the color of your footage, and creating that extra layer of noise is still gonna change a little bit of the color that you want at the end. You can, the green size, the blue size, the red size, like you can really mess however you want with noise, and I don't think there's ever gonna be wrong noise. Raw noise is always gonna be beautiful. You don't want noise, you don't have to put it there. This is a clean shot. It has natural noise from the camera, so each camera has its own noise, and you know, it's out of the world situation. Right now we're finding ourselves in a purgatory, because that story, it's about self-harming, ending up in a purgatory, having to do, helping the next person so you can move on to the next life. And I want it out there to have no noise, because I believe that in the afterlife there's no noise. You don't have to create noise. So I love how you have fully access to every single aspect of post-production, all in one little tiny spectrum, putting 4 nodes, 5 nodes at the most, and get the look that you want. So this is what it used to look like when I filmed it. This is what it looked like. I filmed it overexposed. I messed it up. If you look at that, that is way overexposed, because outside I had so much light, which technically you should overexpose, because what you do when you're filming in a higher ISOs, you're actually really retaining the details and the highlights. So a lot of people tell you, this is nothing to do with Maxon, but this is what I do for a living. I love doing this. People tell you use a native ISO, or you know what, like in photography, we know that we go outside, it's very bright, oh, I'm gonna lower my ISO. I always say there's no right or wrong. Personally, that is so wrong, because higher ISOs make sure that you actually get details out of the highlights. So you shoot overexposed, and then you bring it down in post, and now you got details on this, because if I would expose for that, you would have just a black blur over here and over here, and I would have no details. So by bringing the ISOs up, I'm going to film this so I get what's in those dark areas. And then in post-production, I am going to bring it down. And look at the difference. And this is just applying film from Maxon. That's it. In one little tiny plug-in, I have the look, almost the final look that I imagine when I film something, that before would have took me knowing Da Vinci in and out, paying for a colorist, which, again, if you have the opportunity, do. Because obviously, what a colorist can do, it's always going to be a little better than what you could do with one plugin. I'm not saying that, some colorists are fantastic. But if you can't afford that, look at that. Just one little plugin, and you go from overexposed, blown, everything, to this. Just because I messed with it right here. See, I changed the color temperature. I realized that my color temperature was way too warm. I decided to go with the exposure down, because the exposure, as you saw, was way too bright. This was the exposure that I shot, and I told you why, obviously, but I want the story to be darker. I don't have to go here. I don't have to go here and mess with this. I can simply do right here, which means you don't need to know DaVinci to use Maxon. And that, I think that's a huge win. Because learning DaVinci is amazing, it's difficult, and if it takes you a year to learn something, it doesn't mean that that year you can shoot and show what you shot. That's it. And I mean, this is all process of creating the feeling that you want to tell. And this was the final product. So this one, just so you know, see how it changes it creates that dreamy feel. This one, it's a little heavy as a plug-in, but I 100% recommend it if you can find physical, filters for your cameras. And I seriously just, this whole presentation was about don't be discouraged because you don't have the means, because you don't know the technical aspect, because you're not sure 100% of what you're doing. Because art, telling a story, should not be a mathematical equation, should not be a technical solution. It should just be, I have a story I want to tell it this way, I'm just going to do it. And this is why there's Maxon here to make sure it does it for you. So you have, kind of like when you went from PC to Apple, the PC, Windows, would tell you everything, you know everything you're doing. Apple is like, hey, you don't need to know what's happening behind the curtains. Just click here and it works for you. And that's why I think that's what it did with the software. And I was blown away when I was asked, to try it out and everything. Again, I was one of those that just had to learn every single thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to shoot this thing. And I'm not going to touch DaVinci, just here a little bit of curve. That's the only thing it did. Very little curve. And I was blown away. So this is why I made this story. I know the story wasn't a happy story, but that's what I do. And Maxon knew what they were getting into. And I mean, if you have any question, I mean, my biggest peeve is I know so many students, so many young kids, so many people that do not get out there to tell their stories because they think they don't have what it takes technically, not artistically. So get your phones, get your whatever camera do you have, get out there, tell a story, get into DaVinci, use Maxon, and get the look that you wanted. And it doesn't have to be right, doesn't have to be wrong. I shot in log and I use flat. This is the worst thing you could do. But does it look bad? I like it. That's what I want it to look like. So that works for me, and it's gonna work for you guys. Any question? Because I talk a lot and I keep rambling and going on and on and on and on. What's up?
Is there any use of AI in any of the plugins, or is it just a filter that's being applied?
There's no AI on these ones that I used. I know they're implementing some AI and everything, but I'm still old school. I'm 40. AI, it's like borderline. I use AI for the music. I did the song with AI, so. But yeah, I mean, that was a good question, though. That was a really good question. Any other question? He has the mic, but I don't think there's questions, are there? Good. Thank you for not asking questions. Because, no, I'm kidding.
You can always catch up with him after the presentation if you want to ask him something and see some things and some of the workflows, because I'm pretty sure he has a lot more to show, and there's always more to show.
There's always more to show.
So it was a brilliant presentation.
Are you sure?
I love it. It's something different, right?
It really is different.
Getting into how a filmmaker thinks and creates the effects and visuals.
I mean, obviously, I didn't talk about what camera to choose, what lens to choose, and all that. I wanted to bypass all that and go into no matter what you had, you can still find the look that you want. It could be distortion, it could be, color or filters or anything like that. You don't need to have it to get that look. That's it. That was my main thing, because a lot of people get stuck, and I want to encourage people. There's solutions. There's solutions without having to break the bank.
He is really friendly, so anybody watching live, please reach out to him as well. Bombard him, slide into his DMs, ask him questions. He'll be more than happy to answer.
Right on, yeah.
We will see you all in 15 minutes, so see you all shortly.
Thank you, guys.
You can scan the QR code for a chance of winning Maxon 1 license as well. It's always fun for the community, so thank you.